If you are still kicking yourself for not buying stock in Apple at $20 a share, I am too. Or are you angry that you said I do when you really meant I'm not sure? Because if that's true for you, you might have a glimmer of an idea of how P. Diddy feels. Sean Combs almost certainly could have avoided everything bad that's happened to him in the last year if he'd just gritted his teeth and written a $30 million check to Cassie Ventura, who at the time was said to be shopping a book around for about that price, unless Diddy bought it first. When he said no, word is Cassie sued him instead, and the details in that lawsuit went public for one full day before he settled it, and fast. But in that one full day, the feds and the rest of us got an eyeful. We got an eyeful. And we know what's happened since. Indictment, arrest, incarceration. I know what you were thinking. I thought the same thing. Throwing $30 million around, that is a lot of money, even for people like Diddy. But seeing as how he's now locked up without bail, and seeing as how he's selling his LA mansion for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, and seeing as how he's begging the federal courts to let him out of jail on a $50 million bail package, 30 mil? Oh, that would have been a bargain. All of this 1 year ago Saturday. It all happened a year ago from Saturday. And that brings me back to the bail question, because Diddy is trying once again to get out of the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. And the feds are going back to that sickening hotel video from 2016 to stop him in his tracks again. I know you've seen the silent video, but now we have the texts that put some context to that unholy beating. Diddy texted an unspecified person and says, "Call me. The cops are here. I got 6 kids. Yo, please call. I'm surrounded. You gonna abandon me all alone?" Question mark. Which the feds say proves that Diddy knew that this was no lover's quarrel. Later, Cassie texts Diddy, quote, "I have a black eye and fat lip. You are sick for thinking it's okay to do what you've done. I still have crazy bruising. I turn my head for a second and you get effed up and you drag me down the hall by my hair. I have bleeding cuts. You hit me in the head 2 good times. When you get effed up the wrong way, you always want to show me that you have the power. And you knock me around. I'm not a rag doll. I'm someone's child." Wow. As bad as that beating was, it's not the main reason the government wants to keep Diddy locked up while he waits to go to trial. The feds say even in lockup, Diddy is doing everything he can to tamper with witnesses, like Cassie maybe, and taint the jury pool too. They say that as soon as he settled in at the MDC, he began using phone accounts of at least 8 other inmates to call people who are not on his, quote, approved contact list. The feds say that he routinely orders family members and lawyers to loop in other parties via 3-way calling, which is not allowed. And that he, quote, enlisted family members to plan and execute a social media campaign around the defendant's birthday, including this Instagram that was posted by his kids.
Happy birthday to Daddy.
Yay! I love y'all so much.
We love you too.
Love you, Pastor.
I can't wait to see y'all.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see y'all. And I just want to say I'm proud of y'all, especially the girls. I mean, all of y'all, but just for being strong.
But Team Diddy says that it's the government, actually, that's breaking the rules. They say that the feds raided Diddy's cell last month and then seized a bunch of privileged materials from the cell, including handwritten notes to his lawyers. The prosecutors say that's not true. They say that they took photos of files on Diddy's bunk, but that they didn't seize anything. They also say that he did have a folder that was marked legal, but they claim they did not photograph that folder. They also say that the photos they did take, they gave to a so-called filter team that redacted anything potentially privileged. The defense is demanding an emergency hearing regardless, so this is the time that I bring in my experts. Neama Rahmani is a former federal prosecutor, and he's president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers. And Mark Garagos is a legendary defense attorney who once represented Sean Combs. He's also co-host of the Reasonable Doubt podcast with Adam Carolla. All right, Garagos, I'm going to start with you. This feels like it's all-out war, well before trial, and I'm wondering what you make of all of this back and forth.
Well, actually, there's a lot that went on today. Part of what the government filed was an admission, if you will, and I'll call it an admission, that they had seized materials from his cell during what they call a pre-planned raid. The problem with that is that they kind of buried in a footnote the fact that they were arguably privileged materials, which prompted the defense to file a letter this morning asking the judge for an immediate hearing and arguing that it was outrageous government misconduct. The prosecutor immediately was ordered by the judge today, this morning after that letter, to file a response by 5 o'clock and set a hearing. The judge set a hearing for tomorrow at 3 Eastern. The prosecutor filed their response at 5 o'clock, and I read it at 5, and I will tell you that it was not what I expected. It basically conceded that they did invade the attorney-client privilege. So they're now hoisted between a rock and a hard place, basically arguing he shouldn't get out of on bail because he can prepare for trial and review the billion terabytes of information while in custody, at the same time saying, well, we're going to execute a search warrant on his cell, and there's an investigator there, and we're going to seize materials, and we're not going to run it through the taint team. I think they've got a lot of questions, or the judge is going to have a lot of questions tomorrow at 3 o'clock, so I would stay tuned. The prosecutors may have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew.
So, Neama, jump in here because I'm always interested in a taint team. I hate that word, but okay, we know what it means in this perspective. It means you will seize materials and a special group that is disassociated with the prosecutors look through everything to make sure it's not privileged. I would just assume that all raids of a cell have some kind of taint filter to make sure that you're not taking letters to the lawyer. Why would that not have been the case in Diddy's raid?
It was the case, and the defense has raised all sorts of arguments saying that there's a Fourth Amendment violation here. But we know there's no reasonable expectation of privacy when you are an inmate. Guards can go in there, toss the cell for any reason or no reason at all. You don't need a warrant. You don't need probable cause. And prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, they know what they're doing. You always use a taint team to make sure that you don't use agents who might accidentally see something that may disqualify the agents and the lawyers who are actually working on the case. And that's exactly what they did here. So I think this is much ado about nothing. We know the defense is always trying to go on the offense, and to argue that the government is doing things that are outrageous. I think Judge Subramanian is going to see right through this and reject this motion outright because, again, the real person that's violating the law here is Diddy, because he's abusing the phone system. He's doing three-way calls. He's trying to obstruct justice. He's trying to tamper with witnesses. And I think it's just a matter of time before he gets hit with a superseding indictment because of everything he's doing.
So that's interesting.
You know,
Mark, the phone system, right? The phone system's easy to check, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'll invite you to save the tape on this because the prosecutors did an interesting move today. They asked that there was no evidentiary hearing. Last I looked at Pacer, that evidentiary hearing is still on for 3 o'clock. I would say save the tape because I don't think that this the district court is going to dispense with this so handily. If you read the letter that the prosecutors filed today, it's a very disturbing kind of a recitation of what they did. Nobody is saying that they don't have the right to go into a cell. What they are saying and what they admitted is that they had an investigator present, and that investigator saw attorney-client materials, and somehow those materials made it into the hands of the trial team. So, like I said, save the tape and let's replay it tomorrow, Ashley.
Let me ask you this, Neama, jump in. If somebody accidentally gets eyes on something, there's something called fruit of the poisonous tree, right? You can't just say, ooh, I see a name, that's handy, I'll go and subpoena that name, because eventually at trial, that will be suppressed based on the fact that it's the fruit of a poisonous look-see. Isn't that something that can be remedied in this case?
Absolutely. We know the attorney-client privilege is the most sacred privilege under the law. I mean, period. So if prosecutors were stupid enough to actually send in agents to go through that material and they have access to attorney-client privilege material, that's a huge problem. I agree with Mark. But the defense here, they've said all sorts of things. They've accused the government of intentionally leaking that video of Cassie Ventura that we talked about. Well, we know that CNN got it and that Diddy is the one who actually paid $50,000 to make it go away. So maybe this is a former prosecutor in me, and maybe I'm giving U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York, the most prestigious office in the country, more credit than they're owed. But I don't think that they would make a mistake that is this stupid, because it would be incredibly stupid if they actually did this and didn't use the taint team.
Let me switch gears back to the phone calls, Mark, and that is that, like, if, let's just say if Diddy was using other inmates' accounts to make phone calls to parties he's not allowed to contact, that's super simple. I mean, that's not a treasure hunt. That's all there. Everything is recorded at the MDC, as is in every jail, and all that can be proven right away, correct? Is that a save the tape moment?
Correct. But let me just tell you something. I don't know of anybody who has ever defended a federal criminal case or even a state criminal case who would tell you that inmates and using the phones isn't an every. How do you think cell phones get into the prisons? How do you think these phones get swapped around and everything else? This is the currency of the prison system. And frankly, you have to wonder at a certain point, why is it that somebody who's not been adjudicated, their guilt or innocence hasn't been adjudicated, why is it that they can't make phone calls? Why is it they can't talk to their family? And by the way, if he orchestrated a birthday celebration on social media, it certainly pales in comparison to the kind of campaign that's been waged by law enforcement against Diddy to taint the jury pool. So given what's going on, and by the way, the U.S. Supreme Court has said in unmistakable terms in a case called Gentile versus State Bar of Nevada that the defense has an absolute right to counter things that are done by law enforcement. So it's not only something that does happen, it should be.
You bring up a good point. There is a massive anti-Diddy campaign going on right now. Whether it's his fault or not remains to be seen. But, you know, the fact that he asked his kids to put out the happy birthday video, I get it. That makes sense. But if he's contacting people he's not allowed to contact, that'll be, I got to wrap it there. But, Mark, you're not going anywhere. I've got questions for you about this Menendez story, which just sort of, bang, came out of nowhere. So I'm going to say thank you to Neama Rahmani and ask Mark Garagos to stand by.